This, I don't know who needs to hear this, but everybody smiling in your face ain't sent by God. Some connections are divine, but some are straight from the pit, dressed up in charm, wrapped in false loyalty, and dripping with hidden agendas. Today, we're pulling the covers back. Today, we're exposing the enemy's tactics. Because if you don't learn how to discern, you'll end up entertaining demons disguised as friends, partners, even family. There are signs, sis. Signs God is trying to show you. Signs your spirit keeps picking up on. But are you listening? Are you paying attention? Heaven doesn't want you trapped, manipulated, or drained. Heaven wants you free. So today we're talking about 5 signs someone in your life is a real demon. And after this, you won't be fooled again. There are people in your life right now who are not sent to bless you, not sent to build you, not sent to encourage you. They are sent to drain you. They don't show up with support, they show up with needs. They don't cover you in prayer, they cover you in problems. Every time they call, every time they come around, you feel lighter in your wallet, heavier in your spirit, and weaker in your purpose. That is not by accident. That is not just a personality clash. That is spiritual warfare in disguise. When someone consistently drains your energy but never pours back into you, you are not in a relationship. You are under attack. God did not create you to be a permanent well for people who refuse to find their own source. You are not their emotional garbage can. You are not their spiritual crutch. You are not their endless fixer. You are a child of the Most High God, and your strength is not meant to be constantly exploited by people who have no intention of growing, healing, or changing. Relationships are supposed to be a two-way street, not a one-way extraction. If you are always giving, always sacrificing, always encouraging, always showing up, while they bring nothing but burdens and brokenness, that is not love. That is spiritual sabotage. Sometimes the enemy doesn't come dressed in obvious evil. Sometimes he comes dressed as a needy friend, a struggling family member, a charming partner. And before you know it, you are drained, distracted, discouraged, and disconnected from your destiny. You keep trying to rescue them, to fix them, to carry them, but all the while, your own spirit is withering. You pray and you fast and you wonder why you still feel stuck. It's because you are tethered to a spirit that was never meant to be carried. Some people are not assignments, they are assassins. And the longer you allow them to stay attached, the more your strength will leak out. Start small. Maybe it's a constant need for your time, your money, your attention. Maybe it's subtle manipulation, making you feel guilty when you set boundaries. Maybe it's emotional blackmail, keeping you tied up in cycles of pity and guilt. But before long, you find yourself tired in places you didn't even know could get tired. Tired not just in your body, but in your soul. Tired not just at the end of a long day, but at the beginning of a brand new morning. That kind of exhaustion is not natural, it is spiritual. And it is a sign that someone connected to you is draining life from you. God calls us to love, but he never calls us to self-destruction. He calls us to serve, but he never asks us to sacrifice our purpose for people who refuse to honor it. There's a difference between pouring into someone who is growing and being bled dry by someone who has no intention of changing. And if you ignore the signs, you will wake up one day wondering how you lost your joy, how you lost your fire, how you lost your vision. It wasn't lost, sis. It was slowly drained, drop by drop, by people you refuse to release. You have to understand that real love is reciprocal. Real connections pour back. Real people pray for you, cover you, encourage you. They don't just show up to take, they show up to invest. They don't just drain you emotionally, they build you spiritually. They don't just need your light, they help you protect it. If all someone does is take, if all someone does is exhaust, you have to stop calling that relationship and start calling it what it really is: bondage. You are too valuable to be constantly depleted. You are too anointed to be perpetually exhausted. You are too important to the kingdom to be tied down by people who see you as a resource instead of a relationship. It is not selfish to protect your peace. It is not prideful to guard your anointing. It is not wrong to set boundaries that preserve the power God has placed in you. The enemy wants you tired because tired people don't dream. Tired people don't fight. Tired people settle. And if he can't kill you, he'll exhaust you until you kill your own purpose. You need to start paying attention to how you feel after you interact with people. Do you feel lighter or heavier? Encouraged or discouraged? Stronger or weaker? The Holy Spirit often speaks through your spirit's response to a person's presence. Discernment isn't just about seeing demons with horns. It's about recognizing when a connection is quietly draining you of your strength. And once you recognize it, you have a responsibility to address it. There is a difference between helping someone and being spiritually hijacked by them. Helping empowers them, hijacking weakens you. And if someone in your life leaves you consistently drained, depressed, distracted, and distant from God, that's not just a difficult relationship, that's a demonic assignment against your destiny. You have to be brave enough to cut the cords, brave enough to have the hard conversation, brave enough to choose your peace over their constant problems. Choosing your purpose may mean losing some people. Choosing your destiny may mean disappointing some expectations. But your future is too important to be sacrificed on the altar of false loyalty. You are called to soar, not to be tied down. You are called to flourish, not to be drained dry. Protect your power, guard your gift. Honor the oil on your life enough to recognize when someone is trying to siphon it away from you. Your energy is not an unlimited resource for the ungrateful. It is a precious gift, and you must steward it with wisdom and discernment. There are people who will clap for you when you are down, who will show up to comfort you in your pain, but go silent when it's time to celebrate your victories. That silence is not just their personality, it is a sign of the spirit they are operating under. Real friends, real family, real covenant relationships are not intimidated by your success. They don't shrink when you shine. They don't disappear when God elevates you. They don't fall silent when your dreams start coming true. They celebrate you because they are secure in themselves and aligned with the heart of God for your life. When someone celebrates your struggles but gets quiet during your success, you are looking at someone who is wrestling with envy. You are dealing with someone who is more comfortable seeing you broken than seeing you blessed. And if you are not discerning, you will confuse their presence during your hard times with loyalty, not realizing that some people only feel powerful when you feel, they only feel superior when you are struggling. They only feel needed when you are broken. And so they unconsciously, or sometimes even consciously, root for you to stay stuck. There are people who know how to show up with tissues, but don't know how to show up with toast. They are present when it's time to wipe your tears, but missing when it's time to lift your glass in celebration. And you have to recognize that for what it is. They are more comfortable counseling you through heartbreak than congratulating you through a breakthrough. They are more comfortable praying with you through pain than praising with you through promotion. That is not covenant. That is not love. That is a parasitic spirit attaching itself to your struggle while resisting your success. You have to be bold enough to notice who disappears when you rise. Pay attention to who stops calling when your blessings start rolling in. Pay attention to who shifts the conversation when you start talking about wins instead of wounds. There are people who will nurture your weakness because it keeps them feeling strong. There are people who will console your failures because it reassures them that they are not being left behind. And if you don't recognize it, you will continue to tether your destiny to people who secretly hope you never grow beyond them. Jealousy doesn't always come with a scowl. Sometimes it comes with a smile. Sometimes it hugs you. Sometimes it high-fives you half-heartedly. Sometimes it says, I'm happy for you with words, but not with energy. Spiritual discernment will teach you to hear beyond what people say. It will teach you to feel the tension in the atmosphere when your name is celebrated. It will teach you to recognize when applause is missing in moments that demand it. Not because you need their validation, but because you need to know who is truly for you. Your success should not shrink your circle, it should strengthen it. Your victories should not expose jealousy, they should expose joy. When God blesses you, the right people will bless him too. When God elevates you, the right people will cheer from the front row. When God answers your prayers, the right people will shout with you, dance with you, cry happy tears with you. Anything less is a warning sign. You have to stop holding on to people just because they were there in your wilderness if they cannot handle you entering your promised land. Not everyone who walked with you in Egypt can celebrate you in Canaan. Some people are addicted to your struggle because it keeps them comfortable. Some people are loyal only to the version of you that needed them. And when you heal, when you grow, when you rise, you threaten the dynamic that once made them feel important. You are not responsible for making your light more palatable to people who prefer your shadows. You are not responsible for hiding your blessings so insecure people won't feel uncomfortable. You are not responsible for pretending you are still broken when God has made you whole just to maintain old relationships. You have a responsibility to steward your success, your growth, your elevation with gratitude and boldness, not with apology. The right people will celebrate you because they recognize that your win is a win for the kingdom. They understand that when one of us breaks through, it's a testimony that the same God who did it for you can do it for them. They understand that your blessing doesn't diminish their possibility. Real covenant celebrates without competition. Real love rejoices without jealousy. When you start noticing who celebrates your struggles but falls silent in your success, you have to be brave enough to adjust your access. You have to be wise enough to recognize that God is revealing, not punishing. Every silent tongue at your promotion party is a signpost pointing to the condition of the heart. And you need people whose hearts are clean towards you. You need people who can celebrate your arrival into new seasons without secretly mourning their own place in your life. Elevation exposes loyalty. Breakthrough reveals character. And sometimes the best thing God can do for you is allow your success to reveal your real circle. Not to shame them, but to free you. Not to hurt you, but to help you. Not to isolate you, but to insulate you from spirits that were never meant to cross over with you into your next level. You are stepping into a season where your victories will be undeniable, your blessings will be public, your breakthroughs will be loud, and you need people who can handle that noise without feeling threatened. You need people who will lift your hands when you are winning, not just when you are wounded. You need people who can praise God for your increase without secretly plotting your downfall. Watch the ones who go silent and don't apologize for outgrowing what you had to survive through. Watch the ones who stop clapping and trust God to send you the ones who will dance with you into every new door he opens. When someone constantly sows seeds of doubt and confusion in your life, it is not by accident. It is a tactic straight from the enemy. Doubt is one of the most subtle, most dangerous weapons the enemy uses to dismantle your faith. And when it comes packaged through the people you trust, it becomes even more destructive. You have to recognize that when someone is always questioning your dreams, second guessing your decisions, making you wonder if you really heard from God, you are not just dealing with a difference of opinion. You are dealing with the spirit that is trying to derail your destiny. Number 3, the people who will pretend to be concerned about you, who will cloak their fear and insecurity in the language of just being realistic or just wanting the best for you, but what they are really doing is planting tiny seeds of doubt in your spirit. Seeds that, if watered by your own insecurity, will grow into forests of confusion, paralyzing you from moving forward. Seeds that will make you question if you are good enough, if you are strong enough, if you are called enough. Seeds that will cause you to delay steps you were supposed to take in faith. God is not the author of confusion. Whenever confusion shows up, you can be certain that it did not originate from heaven. God speaks clarity. God speaks purpose. God speaks identity. So when someone's voice constantly brings you into a place of fog, a place where you don't trust yourself, don't trust your vision, don't trust the voice of God in your own life, you need to check the source. Not every voice in your life deserves a microphone into your spirit. Some voices need to be muted because they are operating in fear, not faith. It is one thing for a person to offer wise counsel rooted in prayer, rooted in discernment, rooted in love. It is another thing for someone to consistently undermine your confidence, to always highlight the risks without acknowledging the reward, to focus on your past failures instead of your future potential. That is not counsel. That is contamination. And if you are not careful, you will find yourself stagnated, sitting on dreams, abandoning ideas, stepping back from assignments, all because someone you trusted kept whispering doubt into your ear. You have to guard your spirit like your life depends on it, because it does. You have to be ruthless about who gets to speak into your purpose. You have to discern when advice is meant to build you and when it is meant to bind you. Some people don't realize they are being used as tools of the enemy to discourage you, but whether intentional or not, the impact is the same if you allow it to take root. Confusion doesn't just happen, it is cultivated. Every time you give space to a doubting voice, every time you allow someone to make you second guess a word you know God spoke to you, you are watering that seed. And before you know it, you start hesitating where you used to be bold. You start questioning moves you used to make in confidence. You start shrinking back into fear when you were called to move forward in faith. That is not the life God called you to live. The enemy knows he cannot take your purpose, but if he can confuse you long enough, he can convince you to forfeit it yourself. If he can use people close to you to cloud your clarity, to fog your vision, to muddy your faith, then he doesn't have to destroy you. He can simply distract you until you lose your momentum. And sometimes the greatest warfare is not in the obvious attacks, but in the subtle whispers that cause you to doubt who you are and what you were called to do. You have to get bold about protecting your clarity. You have to get serious about guarding your faith. If a conversation leaves you more anxious than assured, more fearful than focused, more doubtful than determined, you need to reevaluate that connection. You don't owe everyone access to your dreams. You don't owe everyone a front row seat to your purpose. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is protect your peace by distancing yourself from voices that do not align with the vision God has placed in you. There is a difference between wise warning and spiritual sabotage. Wise warning empowers you with strategy while affirming your destiny. Sabotage weakens your resolve and magnifies your fears. Pay attention to how you feel after conversations. Pay attention to the fruit they produce in your spirit. If you are constantly left confused, drained, and uncertain, you are being sown into by the wrong spirit. Your destiny requires clarity. Your purpose demands faith. You cannot afford to entertain confusion disguised as concern. You cannot afford to let doubt erode your dreams. God is calling you to move with confidence, with boldness, with unshakable trust in who He created you to be and what He has called you to do. Anything and anyone who consistently brings confusion instead of confirmation, fear instead of faith, doubt instead of destiny, is a sign that you need to draw some boundaries and protect the vision God has placed inside of you. Manipulation is one of the oldest tactics the enemy uses to derail destinies. When someone in your life constantly uses guilt, fear, or control to influence your decisions, it is not love, it is bondage. True relationships are rooted in freedom, respect, and trust, not in emotional traps that keep you feeling obligated, fearful, or second-guessing your every move. When someone manipulates you, they are not seeking your growth, they are seeking to keep you within the boundaries that serve them. They want you dependent, insecure, and tied to their approval. Guilt is a heavy chain that manipulators use to keep you from walking into your next level. They will remind you of everything they did for you, every sacrifice they made, every moment they were there, so that you feel like you owe them your future. But the truth is, anything done from love does not come with chains attached. True support celebrates your growth, even when it means you might move beyond their reach. True love gives freely without expecting to control the outcome. When someone uses guilt to control you, they are trying to trap you in a past season when God is calling you into a new one. Fear is another weapon of manipulation. People who operate in fear want you to be just as afraid as they are. They will project their anxieties onto your dreams, magnify every possible failure, and highlight every obstacle so that you stay stagnant. They will make you believe that stepping out on faith is reckless, that following God's call is irresponsible, that dreaming big is unrealistic. But fear is not from God. Fear is a spirit, and when someone uses it against you, it is a clear sign that their influence is not aligned with your destiny. You were created to walk by faith, not to be paralyzed by fear. Control is the ultimate goal of manipulation. A manipulative person will twist conversations, withhold affection, use passive aggression, or even spiritualize their demands to make you feel wrong for pursuing what God has placed in your heart. They will make their approval the ultimate prize and their disapproval the ultimate punishment. If you find yourself constantly making decisions based on how someone else will react rather than on what God has instructed you to do, you are under manipulation. Control suffocates purpose. Control chokes destiny. You cannot soar while someone else is pulling your strings. God is a God of freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Any relationship that continually makes you feel trapped, indebted, or terrified to move forward is not operating under the Spirit of God. It is operating under a spirit of manipulation, and that spirit must be confronted and broken. You cannot fulfill your calling while living under the thumb of someone else's insecurities. You cannot chase destiny while being leashed by fear, guilt, or emotional blackmail. Discernment is key when dealing with manipulation. Manipulators are often charming, persuasive, and skilled at making you feel like you are the one with the problem. They will twist your words, deny your reality, and make you doubt your own discernment. That is why it is critical to stay grounded in the truth of God's word, rooted in prayer, and surrounded by people who speak life and clarity over you. Boundaries are your weapon against manipulation. Boundaries are not unkind, they are necessary. They say, I love you, but I will not allow you to control me. They say, I respect you, but I will follow God's voice over yours. Setting boundaries may upset the manipulator, but it will free you to walk fully in the purpose God has for you. You are not called to be anyone's puppet. You are not called to live in fear, disappointing people. You are called to be bold, free, and obedient to the voice of your Father. Recognizing manipulation is the first step. Refusing to bow to it is the next. You have to decide that your purpose is too important, your peace is too precious, and your future is too valuable to be held hostage by anyone's emotional games. God has given you a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. You are fully equipped to walk away from manipulation and walk into the freedom that was purchased for you. You do not have to live under fear, guilt, or control. You are called to live in truth, in love, and in the boldness of your God-given identity. One of the clearest signs that someone carries a spirit not from God is that they consistently pull you away from God, your purpose, and your peace. Their presence in your life creates distance between you and your divine assignment. Their influence slowly but surely turns your attention away from prayer, away from worship, away from the pursuit of purpose. It is never abrupt or obvious at first. It happens subtly, one compromise at a time, one delay at a time. Before you know it, you are no longer running after the things of God with the same passion. Your fire has dimmed. Your urgency has faded. Your peace is no longer secure. Someone carrying a demonic assignment will never encourage you to chase after the deeper things of God. They will downplay the importance of your calling. They will make your purpose seem like an optional hobby instead of a divine mandate. They will normalize inconsistency in your faith walk, suggesting that you can always get back to God later, that you have more time than you think. They will feed into your distractions and applaud your detours, all while your destiny quietly drifts farther and farther away. Your spirit knows when something is wrong. God wired you with an internal alarm system. When you find yourself more anxious than anchored, more confused than confident, more worldly than worshipful around certain people, it's not just coincidence, it's spiritual misalignment. People sent by God push you closer to Him. They inspire you to grow, to stretch, to believe, to trust. They sharpen your focus on the kingdom. The people sent on assignment by the enemy will make you feel like the things of God are burdens instead of blessings. They drain your hunger for prayer. They minimize your passion for purpose. They replace your peace with chaos. Your destiny is too precious to allow anyone to pull you off course. Every moment spent entertaining wrong connections is a moment delayed in fulfilling your assignment. Every day spent tangled in ungodly influence is a day your impact is put on pause. The enemy knows he can't strip you of your calling, but if he can seduce you away from it, he wins. He doesn't have to destroy you outright. He just has to distract you long enough to make you ineffective. When someone in your life constantly leads you away from the things that ground you, the things that fuel your spirit, the things that anchor you in purpose, you must recognize that influence for what it is. It's not harmless, it's not casual, it's strategic. The enemy sends people the same way God does. Discernment is your safeguard. You must have the courage to ask hard questions. Does this connection draw me closer to God or further away? Does this relationship strengthen my pursuit of purpose or weaken it? Does their influence build my peace or disrupt it? The season you are stepping into demands clarity, demands focus, demands separation from anything and anyone that threatens your walk with God. Your peace is not optional. Your purpose is not negotiable. Your relationship with God is not something you can afford to sacrifice. You are called to live anchored, positioned, and fully aligned with heaven's agenda for your life. Anything that pulls you away from that assignment must be recognized, addressed, and released